Bye. Hello. Here we are. So we get around.
Circle Pines.
There we are. Yeah. Cool.
I've never been out here. I'll have to admit, this is very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice.
I didn't mean to stop your conversation.
Anyway, we have little shoulders to and go everything.
We just had a feast, and we were cleaning. That's what most of us are doing now, is cleaning. Yes. I was cleaning as well. Hey, this is cool. I was helping with the dishes. This chain. Huh. It's different. Ooh.
I wonder if Lee made that.
Somebody did it for sure. Is he a welder? Does he have access to a welder?
I don't know. I think Lee's done a lot of this and that throughout his life.
That's Occupy Your Homes, huh? I want to go in there.
To the head of the staff, which is the order in which we will be arranging who speaks. If you have a clarifying question, or if you have a point of information to answer that question, we'll jump you up. The way we're going to take stack is that I will point to you with a number. So like 3 people raise their hands right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'll be like 1, 2, 3, and then we'll just count like that. And I'll try to weight the stack. If I notice that there's some people that are speaking a lot, and there's some people on the stack that haven't spoken, I'll jump them forward. Do people have any amendments or anything to the process? Okay, great. Well, we'll go through the announcements, and then we will build the agenda. So Cindy has an announcement.
Yeah.
Well, so Ben has an announcement. The Peace Center in Kalamazoo is putting on a presentation. It's our keynote for the year, and it's called "You Can Fix Racism." It's a 10-point plan, 5 points for white people, 5 points for people of color. It's not easy. And the point of it is to laugh and to have a comfortable conversation about it, because people cramp up. So I'll pass around this one flyer. There's also one in the bathroom to read. So Sydney has an announcement.
Hi, I'm Cindy from the Basic Segment on Midland area. This is our new logo we just came up with, and Eric made us some t-shirts so we could walk in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I don't have anything to hand out to you. Well, I guess I got our trifold that I have enough of to give away if anybody really wants a book. But what I wanted to show you was one of our members is really into flyers. So he's made this one called "I Believe in Capitalism. Why Should I Occupy?" And it's trifold, like that with information on it. And this one says, "I'm a local business owner. Why should I occupy?" Same deal. This one says, "I'm a religious person. Why should I occupy?" And this one says, "I'm a college student. Why should I occupy?" And we're trying to hand these out to people that it's pertinent to. And part of the reason is we want to develop a business directory where local businesses let us list them in a directory that we can hand out, maybe like a one-page thing. We haven't worked out any of the details. And they don't necessarily have to support Occupy, but we support them. And we're talking about maybe cash mobs and stuff like that. We don't know yet. Talk. So we have an information table at Delta College, our community college, and we pass out a lot of flyers. And so I just wanted to, I wondered if you wanted me to just pass them around so you could look at them if you're interested in making some of your own. But I didn't make enough to give anybody. And also we ran into a lot of drama, So we made this covenant. And it's kind of like everything else that you've seen. But and the consequences of breaking the covenant will, we won't delete any posts, but the administrator will say, please take this to a private message or your post will be hidden. And the only really bad thing that will happen when people get snarky with each other is repeated violations of the covenant may lead to General Assembly action, which leaves us wide open to kick them out or whatever we feel, you know, is necessary, because we're hoping people just abide by it, you know, on their own. So that, and let's see, I had something else to say. I was asked to find out if anybody has any specific remedies for people that feel that their Occupy has been hijacked by the Democratic Party. So, if anybody, I've talked to a few people about it, but I didn't really get anything concrete that I can write down. So, if anybody wants to talk to me, my name is Cindy. So, do you want to? Oh, and here's one more flyer. This is good for like this. You know, hi, I'm with Occupy. Snap, and they keep walking. You know, and all it has is our email address, an information line, and our link to Facebook. That's all it's been on it. It looks like $1.
Nice.
So,
People respond.
so that's all. Yeah.
I really like those trifold posters that you have. Is there like a website that we can go to like find and print out?
Our group space has the documents on to download. So I guess you could go join our group space, but I think it's kind of cumbersome to use. Let me make sure that no, we pressed it out. I could.
I think that's really clever like that.
Well, here, just like.
Can you guys touch base about this after?
Yeah, I guess group space is written on each, so here.
There's a copy machine upstairs.
All right, I'm just gonna go bam.
So,
I don't need those back. I just don't have enough there yet. Thank you.
Okay, just a little quick announcement here. After we're done with the Little Circle Pines retreat for this, next Thursday, we're going to begin a 4-part series of a phone seminar with Steve Metcalf. Steve Metcalf was a Wall Street regulator during the 1980s for Bear Stearns. He actually, his last case he walked away from was the cheating case of the 1980s on Wall Street. So anybody who knows about that knows that was a crazy deal. He did that and then also worked in foreign affairs for the government. He's going to begin a 4-part series from 1913 on up on the banking industry and how it's affected the economy and the way things are coming. So it's going to be April 5th at 8 p.m. For Occupy Killing the Jews Facebook page. We got an event on there, or else I've got just about everybody's email, so I'll probably do a little newsletter out to everybody about it. So just wanted to bring that up. It should be pretty cool. So that's all. Thank you.
Mine? Benjamin, right?
yep.
Yeah, I'm Dan from Occupy Muskegon, and I'm just going to make the announcement. It's a follow-up from the last time we got together. Then I was letting you know that we were having a party at Dreamers, and we've done this before. It started out as kind of a fundraiser, also a warm meal. It was a potluck for the campers, the people who were spending the time out in the wilderness, out in the wild, out in the cold and the weather. Anyway, what it's turned into was just kind of a celebration for us, and we did generate revenues, even though that's not even on our mind while we're there. It started out again as inviting musical performers to come in, also opening the mic for any Occupy members who might have talent or the ambition or desire to read poetry or perform with musical instruments or something like that. But what it has become more and more, we still have performers coming and entertainers coming in and performing. More of us have gotten together and actually collaborated rather than standing up there and doing solo, kind of a lonely sort of thing, just the microphone all by ourselves. What we're doing is getting together, and a number of us have never done this before in public, and none of us have ever worked together before, like trying to harmonize and put musical instruments together. And it was just a whole lot of fun. And we do have some stuff online. I don't know if it's been linked to our Facebook page yet, unless you did it.
I did.
Did you? Good. Okay, so it's linked to our Facebook page. If you are, want to take a look, see some of the fun we've been having, and we'll hope that they'll come to the next one. We do one maybe every month, 6 weeks or so. Thank you.
Your address?
Oh, go ahead.
The address. It's at Dreamers.
Dreamers is downtown Muskegon, but we're on Facebook page. You'll see details there. Occupy Muskegon on Facebook, yeah. Cool. Thanks.
I just want to again invite everyone to come to the next dinner Occupy in Lansing. It's going to be Tuesday, April 17th a lot of the details are in flux, but they'll be up soon on our website. It's going to be starting at the Capitol building at noon. There'll definitely be a general assembly in the library at 7, and it's going to culminate in a big dance party on the Capitol steps, close to like when the police would normally want to kick us out. So around 10ish. So just check the website for more up-to-date information.
Like a naked dance party?
Is that being done in conjunction with the Free the Weed demonstration on that day?
The what, pardon?
There's a big, huge statewide Free the Weed demonstration at the Capitol on the 17th.
You know what time that is?
I think it's June to 4, noon to 6.
On the 17th?
On the 17th. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're kind of...
So let's build the agenda. If you have an agenda item, let's start with proposals first. And then when you shout out an agenda item, please say a time that you think it'll take and be realistic as well at that time. And this also
I'm Judge. I'm going to help him co-facilitate.
So agenda items.
I'd like to hear Kris talk about the meteor. You know? And so I don't know how long it'll take Kris to talk about that.
I can certainly bring that up for everybody. Do you want to wait a second?
How long do you think, Kris?
10 minutes, like that. For any Q&A, if we have that. That shouldn't take that long. I brought it up.
Should we start with a round robin of who's represented here?
Yeah,
Want to do that?
that's not bad. Just start there.
What else? Yeah, anything, people have proposals first preferably, but... Alright, what else?
I'd like to hear Kris talk about interoccupied.
It's the Kris Show!
I feel bad I missed the last call. We all did.
Well, and that's for Interaccupy. I can definitely do announcements, and I'll put that in the newsletter
Okay.
for all the upcoming calls. I don't want to keep going too long.
Do we want to plan the next Interaccupy now? We discussed that we were trying to get on the east side. Are we able to discuss that?
We have an East representative.
The Union Church in Midland, Michigan is open for a summit. I just would have to verify the date with.
Sorry, should we add this to the agenda?
Yeah, put it
Did I skip that turn?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, not really. Okay. Minutes? PGA stuff? I don't know, come on.
If it's wide open, I have an idea. I'd like to have us talk about, like, say, maybe principles that the groups operate under. Now, we heard some ideas over here, and so I was just thinking about some principles that maybe the groups have decided to operate under in order to preserve the movement, preserve the group. That's sort of
Is that a proposal or more discussion based?
Is that what we're doing? We're just proposing ideas for the agenda?
That sounds like either right now. So.
Say it again?
Oh, either discussion items or proposals.
Yeah, the discussion that I would like to talk about and hear what your ideas are on the principles.
Alright, my handwriting's not very good. Time for that? Oh. How long do people want to spend on that?
Yeah.
Is 20 minutes? Can I get some sprinkled positives or negatives?
Yeah.
Come on.
For Mayday stuff.
Mayday discussion. Can everyone read this?
No, but it kind of like
How long,
You're gonna
Judge?
want to.
10. Great.
So that's for discussion or proposal items at this point.
I guess the PGA, Occupy PGA thing.
How long should we spend on that?
Just be like,
Alright, it sounds like we should start. So let's just do a quick round robin. Your name, pronoun, and what occupy you're representing, or something else. Pronoun is like he, she, it's your gender identity. So we know, like, I agree with what he said. We're like, so I'm Benjamin. I go by male pronouns, and I'm from Occupy Western Michigan University.
I'm Judge. I'm from Occupy Grand Rapids. I don't use pronouns.
Yeah, it's not.
What is this? I'm opposed to gender.
My name is Zach, male identified from Grand Rapids.
My name is Anna Flora. I'm from Occupy the Dumpster. I'm from Occupy Grand Rapids, and I just go by Hey You.
I'm Diane. I'm from Occupy Grand Rapids, and just don't call me
So it can be funny, but also, like, for people that are transgendered or trans-identified, it is, like, a real rough life. So I think as a welcoming space, we should make an effort to, like, assume that we don't know people's gender pronouns. So just putting that out there. So.
I'm Tom. I'm the director here at Circle Pines, with Occupy Circle Pines, I guess. I'm a he.
My name is Kris, I'm from Occupy Kalamazoo, and go by Kris Maynard, that guy over there, however, no pronouns.
Andrew, Occupy Grand Rapids. Andrew, Andy, or Drew. Danny, Occupy Grand Rapids. He or they or something.
Ryan, Occupy Kalamazoo.
I'm Barbara. I'm Occupy Mountain Free School. And I'm a she.
Raphael, Occupy Lansing, it's fine.
I'm Maddie. I'm from Kalamazoo College, and I go by she.
What? Go by what?
She.
You were in the back.
Hi. I'm Jessica. I'm also from Kalamazoo College, and I go by girl pronouns. So.
Hi, I'm Kris. I'm from Occupy Lansing, and I'm a she.
I'm Lloyd, Occupy Kalamazoo. Go by Lloyd.
I'm Caroline, Occupy Kalamazoo, and I'm a she.
A girl named Jara from Occupy Detroit.
I'm Norma from Lansing, I go by she.
Yeah, my name's Dan, from Occupy Muskegon, and folks keep wanting to call me badass. No. Thanks.
I'm Dylan, I'm from Occupy Muskegon. You can call me whatever you want.
I'm Melinda. I'm from Occupy Kalamazoo. I prefer to be called Melinda.
Justin, Occupy Kalamazoo. I'm not easily offended.
Linda Occupy Lansing and humanoid, I believe. So, whatever.
I'm Lee, Occupy Kalamazoo. I'm still a he.
I'm Mandy. I'm from Grand Rapids, and I guess I'll be occupying Circle Pines too. And I could go either way, whatever.
I'm Case from Grand Rapids, and I don't really.
I'm Cindy from the Tri-City area, and I enjoy being a girl.
Michelle from Muskegon, she. Shanti Devi from Muskegon, she.
Andrew Levine from Grand Valley, and I'm a Spirit.
Alright,
Joan from the Stevens.
Susan from Occupy the Lake Shore, and I'm Neil
So we're going to start out with media proposal for Kris.
Okay. Let me just a couple of notes. As Shanti mentioned, I also coordinate the telephone calls on occupy.org. It's just a national phone program. One of the fruits that have come from this program is... one of the things that came from this program is we have a media program in the works right now, which I've spoke to a few people about, and I did bring up briefly at Muskegon. What this media program would be is a collaboration with any occupies that are interested, their communities. We also have contact from a woman named Melissa, who is representative from Free Speak TV, willing to give us a half-hour time slot. We have a lady named Laura. She has an Occupy in LA, and she's setting up virtual studios for the Occupy movement. She's on board for this project. We also have an individual named Tom Saffold out of Detroit. He's not actually part of an Occupy, but he's been a religious speaker on TV for the last 20 years, and he's helping us put together an enveloping program that would actually use public access to reach 600 regions across the U.S. All this together, we're working on a collaborated effort to make a media program that would go out to the community. How this would work is you would have a three-month window. Oh, and we also have Sue Wilson. She's helping collaborate with us. Sue is an Emmy-winning journalist from 2006, so it's really kind of cool to just have her talking to us about it. What we're talking about is a 3-month program where, for instance, say, Occupy Grand Rapids. How the media program would work is for 3 months we open competition out to the public, general public, anybody that's interested for journalism, photography, music, or video, documentary, interview, investigative journalism, however you want to put it. As long as it's some way geared in socioeconomic injustice, we'll put this up on a centralized website and build this so that people look into their own communities for socioeconomic injustice, whether it be a song that they want to make about it, whether it be some kind of investigative piece that they put together, whether it be a report that they do, even if it's for school or something, if it's useful, if it's about socioeconomic injustice. We're going to give them 3 months to put in on this. Now, how this is going to work is it'll be somewhat incentive-based because we're going to have 2 national programs for airtime through public access and also through Free Speak. We're going to have Paleo as one of the few radio stations that are going to jump on as a coalition to spread the word for all the journalistic stories that get count. And then on top of that, we have the people from Occupy Studio, etc., that are going to help us actually make a half-hour network program where we'll be putting these stories out to the public through 600 regions on public access. That would be a time. So even if people don't have cable, they'll still have access to it. And then also through Free Speak, which would be, I'm told, a national network. It's on cable somewhere. And then on top of that, centralized through a website where all these stories can go through. And just be going from place to place, 3-month competition after that. For instance, if it's Occupy GR, then 3 months out to the community, all the general public gets a story. After that, it filters down. We pick like the top 5, top 10. That's still got to be figured out. And then these stories actually get narrated with support from the virtual studio and from some of these people that have these years of experience. We would take a couple people from Occupy GR, and they'd actually do a handoff and host that segment. It'd only be 2 weeks apart for the actual segment that's on TV, but then it'd be 4 months of planning. So it'd be 3 months public, 1 month putting the piece together, and then we'll send it through to all 600 regions, Free Speak, and the internet, etc. I had to meet with somebody last week in Detroit, Thomas, to make sure he was still on board. He's on board, so we're going to be forming it and then reaching out to occupiers and getting it going once we have the templated program in place.
Is there a time frame? Time frame for that?
We want to get it by the month of May, like to get the program in place with people that are putting it together, and then start putting that out to communities. Probably Michigan is going to be the starting point because it's mostly Michigan people, with exceptions of Melissa and Laura. So we're going to try and get the whole state of Michigan to start first with this, and then open it up more nationally.
So the centralized thing where we make the submissions, that will cover the whole state of Michigan. So it isn't like Muskegon has a centralized location where it solicits.
What we would do, there's a couple collaborated ways this is going to work with. One of the people that we're in contact with about it is Occupy.net. They're looking at merging within our Occupy.org, which is the phone conferencing. And if we do that, we're also talking with the media part, like, hey, if we're going to make this huge website, let's throw the media on there, and then just make a big hub. OWS is actually the ones doing the .net, so that's a conversation. We don't know for sure. We also have OccupyStudios.org, which is the program that Laura out of LA is working on, and we're looking at reformatting that, giving it some extra server space, things like that, to get ready to take all of this.
It's a great idea.
Thank you.
We're about 5 minutes in, or sorry, 6 minutes in. Stack is open. You want to jump on?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say it's a great idea, and it's a great idea for us to do on our own, websites and stuff like that. But for the very same reason, just to solicit the support and the involvement in the community. I mean, just a place for them to put their stories, and then a place for them to like review and get involved. And so I think it's an excellent idea.
That is one of the plans with Occupy.org, and I would imagine Occupy.net, if they sign in as well, is that they're actually writing programming on the website, so that if you're doing something on an FLV, if you're doing anything, it doesn't matter what digital format, even if it's something that's from a Chinese factory that's generic, and you won't recognize the program, it's going to be completely universally accepted.
Just I guess a clarifying question. Occupy groups could be kind of doing their own media stuff all the time and making their own weekly shows, and then like they could submit their coolest ones to us for the national.
Yep, absolutely. We're just trying to create a hub to get going and then put it through. So no.
I'm a little bit unclear about how it's going to work. Did you say that, for instance, someone writes something and then it ends up being performed by a storyteller? Is that what you said? Or
That part, like I said, we just got all the people agreed that they all want to do it. So we're going to, the next steps over this next month is we're all going to start getting in contact and setting up some conferencing and figure out what we want to do with that. And then once that opens up, put that up to everybody. This is an Occupy thing, everybody all together, so whoever.
I think Melinda, right? I think that's what she's saying is that you started out with a video. That was the whole idea, was video, right? And now you're bringing on board these other
Yeah, originally it was just going to be a video idea, and it was just, a couple of people on the conference calls figuring it out, and it just grew into this.
Anyone else want to get on stuff?
Inter-Occupy, the next Inter-Occupy after the 17th. So at the last one, people expressed interest in having it on the east side. So I'm not sure how people want to decide this. The cities want to call out what they want to say. We can discuss each option.
How far are you sending? Detroit, we have our own building that was donated to us, so.
15,900 would be an awesome place for it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then Cindy also.
So can someone say what the date of the next Occupy will be? 28th.
April?
So judges, what we're doing is we're flipping who's taking section, I'm judges, and I'm facilitating. So is there other cities that also want to call out to have them be on the 28th? Okay, so let's hear what Occupy Detroit can do.
Okay, well, we have a building in Detroit, it's 5900 Michigan Avenue, and it was a building on the southwest side that was donated to us. It was kind of dilapidated when we got it, but the unions pooled together and funded us rehabbing the building. So we've got brand new windows, doors, floors, walls, and everything. It's beautiful now. And that's our Occupy Detroit Community Center. And it's for us to use 24/7, and there's a lot of Occupy people that live upstairs. There's apartments upstairs too, so it's huge, and it would be a great spot to host everybody's down there. And I'm sure there's lots of people, if they need overnight accommodations, that would open up and host.
In Grant.
5900 in Michigan, at West Michigan Avenue.
In Grand Rapids, we're having a really big May Day celebration in a park. We have a ton of stuff scheduled, so I'm thinking that I would really like to have it the next Saturday rather than right on May Day weekend, personally, because I think a lot of people in Grand Rapids wouldn't go, because we're really planning this huge event.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We've got tons of events too that week.
That weekend especially.
Yeah.
So that's...
So we have a proposal on the table to move the date. So it's pretty clear what the proposal is, the reason for it. Do people have, sorry, my brain fart. So can we get a temperature check on if you would like the date to be moved rather than hands down if you don't want to be moved?
What would the date be then?
It would then be the
8th? Are we going, one of them's on a Tuesday, are we going Tuesday, Saturday now, or?
No,
is that just that?
I got it clarifying.
Yeah.
And we're clarifying on that is the Tuesday was an exception. It's going to be normally
Saturday. Then we'll go back to Saturdays again?
It would be the 5th or the 6th, depending on what day we pick.
The Lansing recall kickoff is May 5th on Saturday.
So,
I don't know how big that is.
And where is it?
We have our TAs on Saturdays at noon, and they generally last about 2.5 hours, so that's something to think about too. Would be like with it or after it. And see what our Detroit folks want to do with that. But
What if it was on this? Oh, sorry, I'm actually on staff, right?
Actually, I was
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to suggest, I'm all for Detroit. I know that location is really good, and definitely want to do that either next or sometime. But I love the idea of Midland also, because that also, as far as being somewhat easterly, it also would be the northernmost that we've attempted, which might be able to get in some of the people from north. So I want to do both. Just, I don't know what order.
Number 3.
Oh, I was just going to ask if the recall Rich Snyder, a friendly amendment to moving it would be then to have it on the Sunday, the 8th. Sorry, not the 6th.
Sunday the 6th.
That, I was putting that as a friendly amendment.
So what would the natural next?
The next national one would be the 28th.
Okay. And the concern was that that's
That's our May Day, big meeting. Well, IWW, and it's just a lot of events that day. And
We have a ton of
she has a ton of events that day. Well, how about that Sunday, the 29th?
Do you want to get on Saturday?
It's on our stage.
I don't see why not. It just depends on you guys, I guess. If having such a busy weekend and then going all the way to Detroit after a busy weekend, I don't know what the participation would be.
Personally, I would prefer it to be like the next day instead of this really split
So I guess maybe we want to decide on that first, the date.
Yeah, that's a good call. So, sorry, right.
You're still going.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I guess first, are you okay with Detroit, or do you want to do something?
Well, let's pick the date thing first, because we don't want to confuse the two. So the issue is that May Day is really a big weekend for a lot of people. The counter concern is that if we did the following Saturday, there was a Rick Snyder event, recalling him. So we could move it to the Sunday, but there's still concerns about getting off schedule, so that's the presentation of the issue. So do we have clarifying questions?
I do have a clarifying question. What is the timing of the Rick Snyder? I assume it's in Lansing, at the Capitol, or where is it and what time?
It's at the Capitol from 2 to 5 on
Okay.
May 5th.
So then I guess I would suggest maybe, since people are going to be coming in and flying by for the 2 to 5 thing at the Capitol, that anywhere within 2 hours of Lansing would be a possible point to go for a 7 o'clock GA that same day. Right? Well, if people are coming from Grand Rapids to go to like a big thing in Lansing at 2 to 5, then they're halfway there. They've got the impetus moved up to Vaughan to wherever for 7 o'clock GA, in the East Park.
Yeah, Chris.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
The only thing about Midland is that I can't personally say that we can have it tonight on any date without talking to the church pastor first. So I'm not authorized to say, we would love to have it, but I would have to say, you know, if he says no, could we go to Detroit as a second choice? If we decided on Midland. That's fine.
I was just going to say, if we're going to have a discussion about May Day, and we're trying to gear this kind of around May Day, maybe we should shelve this until we have a May Day discussion.
Okay, so we're going to table this to discuss as part of the May Day. Which I'm going to say we should bump up and discuss right now while we're on the topic. So, we have 10 minutes to discuss the May Day. Let's add time for figuring out the inter-occupy. Do we need more than 5 minutes for that?
I would say.
Okay, so we're going to do 10 for that and then another 10 for the inter-occupy. So, I'll be taking stack. Who's presenting on this? Or it's a discussion, so. Suckers.
All right. The reason I brought up
I'll facilitate this here.
why is just I was just kind of curious what all the May Day plans were that people have going on, because I'm not personally aware of any. And then like what sort of opportunities there would be to collaborate and stuff like that. So stack is up.
So how about process? How about we go around and someone from each Occupy can talk if there is plans for the Occupy? Like we start here and someone from whatever Occupy, they say what that city's plans are and we rotate.
I think stack would be better.
Okay.
What would be better?
Stack.
Oh.
I don't care.
Well, I'll go on stack. Just again, we have no plans right now.
We have a caravan from Detroit going to Chicago that day. There's a Detroit City Council meeting that day. Detroit May Day March and Rally. And the General Assembly, all of that.
Which day is that?
That's May 1st.
Yeah, Wednesday.
But it's Tuesday.
I was just kind of general speaking. I don't know of any special Lansing, May 1st.
Is anyone from Grand Rapids not there?
Just from Grand Rapids, we're doing our May Day thing on that Saturday. As far as I know, right, Yanni, we're, May Day event is on Saturday the 28th.
Yeah, the midday celebration.
And it's all day long,
That's
right?
April 20th? Yeah.
Right, and it's, from 12 to dark, I think. So, as far as Tuesday, I'm not sure. I just know if you schedule an Interact by Summit on April 28th, I'm not going, because I'm going to our May Day thing that Saturday. I don't know what we have going on.
Just a note that the every 2 weeks Saturday Occupational Summit schedule was set like a while ago since.
I couldn't hear you very well.
Oh, the every 2 weeks Saturday Interoccupational Summit schedule was set like a while ago. So I mean, like the last one was on St. Patrick's Day, which probably hurt our numbers a little bit, but it was also still a unique experience because of that.
There's always really big things going in Chicago because that's where May Day started. So.
So, if no one else wants to get on the stack about May Days.
Just on the 28th specifically, it's just our GA and on the executive.
Well, I suppose temperature check on closing stack on this and moving back to the next summit. Temperature check.
So since we can't confirm Midland, do we want to have that on the books for the following? Would that work?
Then it would give you time to,
Okay.
so for June, or is
Yeah.
it in May?
In May.
Okay, what day would that be?
So that would either be
The 15th?
Is that?
the 15th or the 29th, sorry.
Well,
Sorry, I'm on the wrong month. So it'd be the,
No, I'm sorry, it would be Tuesday.
it'd be the 12th or the
The
26th.
26th has already been
Yeah,
decided.
26th.
PGA.
no, it'd be the 12th for the.
And
26th.
when is the NATO thing happening? Is that still the 19th weekend?
Sounds like the 12th.
Okay. Pencil us in.
So back to Detroit on the date.
Well, like I said, on the 28th exactly on that date, it's just our GA, which is at noon. And that usually lasts about 2.5 hours.
Just a consideration, since the summit includes the GA, would it make sense just to, maybe you guys could not do it that day? But I mean, I don't know, whatever your schedule works
I
out.
can't make that decision for
Yeah.
the whole occupied Detroit to put on the GA.
Well, I guess it just depends on what else you have planned for that day, but yeah.
I would say, like, I think a lot of,
Here, number 3. Number 2 is over there.
My turn?
Yeah.
On the 5th, on Saturday, the day that's we call, would you mind if it were after the, in the evening after the Lansing thing? Or do you want to make it a whole day thing? Does it
Really, I mean,
matter to you?
That would be up to you guys. The only call I can't make is not having our GA or moving the time of our GA or, because that involves a whole lot of people other than me.
So you're saying you can't make the decision on a Saturday interoccupied?
No, Saturday would be fine.
So May 5th is a Saturday.
Yeah, but if you're saying to put it in the evening, there's no conflict there, I don't see.
But in terms of your, normally people try to have actions earlier in the day and get people coming, but a lot of times people only come to the GAs. So do you mind if it's only going to be the GA or a little bit before, because people are going to do Lansing? Is that an issue to you or no?
I mean, I guess that would be up to you guys how involved you want in occupied meetings to be that day.
maybe it would be a point, but, what we have done, usually with the summit is that we agreed that the summit would be the next location, and then whatever happens during the day is on that hosting party. So if you would agree to do the summit, whether you guys have the GA during the day or not, that's something that you guys would figure out on your own anyway as the people hosting. So it's kind of, for our part, it's a non-issue. It would be what Detroit wants to do about it.
Okay. So I guess I'd have to propose that to them on Tuesday and then send out the result back to you.
Well, I'm confused. People are talking about different dates now. I'm really confused. I'm hearing the 5th and I'm hearing the 28th, so.
That's the question, what day?
There was, so we don't really need to discuss this in this much detail. We should just decide with a temperature check. We have one more person on the staff.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to say that I think it makes a lot of sense to not have the cities like GA dealing with their own city projects and issues and stuff be exactly occupying the same time as the inter-occupy stuff. I think it makes more sense to have those as two separate gatherings.
If we're gonna move it to the, sorry.
We can move it to Sunday.
If we move it to the 5th, can we just have it in Lansing since people will be there? They're going to be there. So if we're not going
The
same old.
We can't do that without,
okay, let's do it. Let's close that and then do a temperature. I know if people could really use their signals so we could not repeat each other, that'd be helpful.
what are we thinking?
I was just gonna say, if it works for Detroit, I think it would make a lot of sense to just move it to the 29th, like the Rich said, because then we're avoiding any conflicts with other events that are going on. And all the May Day stuff can still happen, and then people can show up the next day.
You said move it to what?
To the day after, Sunday the 29th. And then we'll still be on the same weekly schedule, it just won't be on the Saturday. I don't know.
It may have already been mentioned, but some people know May 5th as Cinco de Mayo.
Number 3.
I'm going to step back because it's been said.
Number 4.
I just wanted to say that there's always going to be, since these are every 2 weeks, there's always going to be some conflict with some Occupy where some members maybe can make it, some members maybe can't make it. I don't think we should be moving the dates around all over the place every time somebody has something that conflicts. I just think we ought to stick to the schedule.
Stack is
So there was a lot of twinkles for the 29th. So I'm going to do a formal call for consensus. So if you consensus, twinkle, and if you block or you disagree, do that signal. Call for consensus. Great. Is anyone taking minutes?
It's been 10 minutes.
No.
It's being video recorded, maybe they can get.
Okay. Whoever is, I just want to put out there that for the purpose of future things, if we can have this typed up, so we can have these sort of, we don't have to make the same mistake of discussing things. So, and to clarify.
What city is the summit going to be in on April 29th?
Detroit. And then following will be in Midland. We're hoping the following will be in Midland.
On May 12th.
Yeah. So, good job.
We did it. Hey, we got something. Alright, so the next thing, for 5 minutes, we're talking about the PGA. I think you brought it up for
I was just really trying to get a consensus on what everybody felt about it and how many people are really participating, planning on participating in it, yes.
Vote in your horn and yes.
Just want to see how big it's going to be.
Alright, so I guess, if somebody you couldn't hear, and he was just wondering how many people are planning on participating in Occupy the PGA. Can we just do a twinkles? Alright. Stacks open. 1. Good.
I don't know how it would work, and I believe we're doing 2 a month. So I mean, I'd kind of be interested in making that the Michigan Inter-Occupy. Oh, it is okay.
What's the date on that again?
Date on it?
May 6th,
There's a flyer.
26th is the Inter-Occupy, and then it's 23rd through 27th.
I'm sorry, can you when is
Occupy the PGA is starting on Wednesday the 23rd. The big day is Saturday the 26th.
The 26th of May is the big day.
And then the Inter-Occupy's on May what?
26th.
Anyone else want to get on set?
I was just going to say, if anybody has boats or want to coordinate with boats, there's actually a water pass that would get us into the Masters when they're shooting. So if we wanted to say completely piss off the golfers with microphones and fireworks or anything else loud and obnoxious we can think of, and if we take a boat, we can actually get right in the middle of the tournament. I wasn't aware of that part. Yeah.
We can't hear you. You guys speak up. Just come bigger. What was your question?
I'm sorry, I thought that we were gonna stop them from getting in there. The golfers.
Does anyone know?
It's a march from.
It's a march, okay.
Well, that's correct.
That's the boats.
Clarifying question?
Oh, go ahead.
It's going to be, there's going to be a march, but there's also going to be actually occupying the golf course. So, like, it wouldn't be preventing the golfers from being there, they just wouldn't have a very easy time doing their thing.
Sure. So we're gonna do something right.
Should we wear protective face masks for the golf balls?
Catcher's mask.
Alright, was your...
Yeah, I just want to know, who is actually kind of organizing that event?
Reverend Pinckney.
Who's what?
Reverend Pinckney of Bangor.
Oh, that's right. Okay, thank you.
I was just going to say that what we can accomplish there largely depends on how many thousands of people we get there. So more the better.
You know something on stack about PGA?
I know the question, and I could find this out, so I don't want to waste your time. But you mentioned boat, and I was just wondering if something as small as a kayak, on the top of the car would help.
Even an inner tube, you can float on water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
I had a put myself on stack next. Does anyone know what the security at a PGA golf match or game is like? Can we just dress up nice and then be tight? Does anyone know about how many people get it? I mean, is it a really selective thing to get admission or tickets or anything? So the option of just running out of the course and a naked person covered in grease that they can't catch.
So there's an entrance on the highway, I guess. You can get in there if you really want.
There's the park that's next to it that was part of the park was taken away, and so there's still a small chunk of the previous park. And I believe you can get in through there, and I don't know if you'd actually be able to get into the park itself.
Does anyone else want to get on sec? there's some private property that are next to, like, that border the course. Does anyone have more information on that? And this year, next year.
I was just going to say, I know that this event is very nationally heavily PR'd already, so there might be a couple spots like the highway and stuff like that, but they're already going to be aware that this is going to have a little more attention than the average golf tournament, so I don't know if those things will be accessible. Just FYI.
Stack is empty.
Actually, it's a question. Has anyone heard if there's any talk of them stepping up security for this event because of this organization of the Occupy coming in? Sweet.
Probably. Anyone want to go Stack? Any questions?
Has anyone been to the protest at the PGA before in here? No? Because I'm going to look up information because my friend, you were there last year?
No, well, this golf course didn't really exist last year. This is the first major event they've ever tried to put on.
I think she's saying golf course, just PGA Tour in general.
I don't think they've ever.
They just had because they had a protest there last year, and maybe when they were going to put that in. I'm going to look up this information because someone emailed me about this a couple months ago, so I might have more information.
We're also over our time. Do we want to close the Stack on this, or do you want to approve more time? Or okay. Twinkles if you want to move on to the next thing. Twinkles if you want to keep talking about this. All right, next thing.
Since I'm instead of paying, everyone gets chocolate as usual. Discussing for 20 minutes points of unity.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you. That's what we're talking, huh? All right. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I brought this up. I'd like to talk to, and I'd like to hear your responses on your ideas.
Right, hold on just a second. And after you present what we're talking about, if anyone has an idea of how to best discuss this, feel free to throw it out.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man. Yeah, now here's the thing. First, maybe I'll state the problem, and the problem is kind of a surprise to me, and maybe a few of us. You know, when I fell into this Occupy movement, I was all excited and everything like that, and without thinking about it, I was assuming we were all of like mind, and I never for a second considered that we'd have to learn to know each other and get along with each other. You know what I mean? You know? And so problems started happening, and I understood that there were problems going on with all the different Occupy groups around, and people were leaving and things like that, and so people were kind of, afraid. We've always been, kind of a little anxious about how well will this movement succeed, desperately hoping it will. Okay, and so anyway, a lot of the things that I've noticed with the Occupy group locally and the other Occupy groups reminds me of the experiences and the people I've met in another program, another movement that I'm a participant in, that happens to be Alcoholics Anonymous movement. A lot of similarities. Yeah, in Alcoholics Anonymous, you'll find a lot of very colorful characters, just as you will here. Of course, the mental illness problem isn't so serious here, at least as far as I know. And we find out people who are really challenge, everyone when they come in the doors initially, especially, And so somehow that group had to survive, and this was life and death. And so what that group did was it came up with some principles. Please, I'm sorry. Please, okay, thank you. It came up with some principles to survive by. And these things have worked for 70 years almost. Okay? In spite of the fact that you've got people who are seriously mentally ill when they come in that door. The worst kind of cases you could ever expect to find in town are together and working together and surviving and thriving. These aren't regulations. They aren't rules that are enforced. There are no enforcers. There is not an organization. There are no officers. It's not organized. Each group is autonomous. What they have is a set of principles, is all, that we agree to. Each group is totally autonomous, makes up its own rules every single day they get together. But there are principles they try to abide by. And the thing is, what happens if somebody doesn't abide by the principles? The group doesn't survive. the groups that do survive follow the principles, and they're called traditions, and maybe you're familiar, maybe you're not. One of them is there are no membership regulations or restrictions. Now, these principles were built from experience. Now, when the AA movement first started, they tried things didn't work, they tried other things that did work, and those became the traditions and the principles. Now, I want to talk to you about two of them. What I would like to know, our group here has settled on a few, and we have discussions over maybe we'll adopt some of the other ones. I like to see everything through the window of Alcoholics Anonymous because I'm so familiar with it. It doesn't apply entirely. I can't just take everything I've learned in AA and apply it directly to this Occupy movement, but a lot of the things do remain. Please, I need your attention, because I need your feedback. Thanks. If you will, thanks. I'd like to talk to you about a couple of them. What I'm hoping that we can do, maybe as an Occupy group, is maybe settle and decide on something that does work for all of us. Again, it's principles, not as rules or regulations that have to be enforced, but just as principles. Maybe it happen, maybe it can't happen. But the reason for my doing this again is just for our own survival, because I think it really depends on us getting along. And so, rather than just saying, okay, we all assume, we all know what the rules and regulations are, we go for consensus, that should be stated explicitly, I think, somewhere, and maybe it is. But I haven't seen it, and I think it ought to be that kind of thing. Now, I have two that I'd like to discuss, I'd like to bring to your attention, and one of them, like I said, is this principle that there are no membership restrictions or regulations. Nobody has to pay dues to belong. Now, here's the thing. In our little group, we may be threatened by somebody who comes in who is known to be a Democratic Party member. Okay? And so we may say, no Democratic Party members in here. Well, then somebody else might say, well, this party's okay, but that party's not okay. You see, what happens is, before you know it, nobody is allowed. And this is exactly what happened with AA, by the way. They say, well, this one over here does cocaine, and we're just alcoholics, that's all. As soon as you start making those restrictions, all of a sudden nobody is a member anymore. They can't be, you see? And so that's the reason for that principle. There are no membership regulations or restrictions. I'm going to give you an extreme example. There was this old guy, and he had head problems, and he'd come in, and he'd start talking awful profanity and putting down women and stuff like that. The old guy swing his cane around, and he would hit people once in a while. There are no membership regulations or restrictions. We couldn't get rid of them. You see? But what we would do is, we would have to deal with him every single day he came in that door. And the group would have to do it. The group, okay, we're going to take a vote. What are we going to do about Mike? Well, Mike's going to have to leave. You know, but he was never thrown out of the group. He couldn't be. You see, if you're going to abide by the traditions. And so that's one I'd like to have you consider. Because that's caused us a problem. Go ahead, you got a question?
You're talking about code or whatever for inter-occupied?
Principle. What I'd like to know...
For the inter-occupational meetings, you mean?
No, I'm talking about something that... See, here's the thing. When we have a problem in an AA group, let's say we have a problem, and we have that
He
problem...
just means, what are you, which are you...
This is it. This is what I'm trying to clarify this for you. Okay, and I'm going to try to do it with an example. An example might be, we have a problem here in our little local group. We don't know how to deal with it. Somebody's just split who is a real valuable member. We relied on this person, now they're gone because, okay, so I bring it to this big group because, we got more heads involved here. You maybe had the same kind of problem. Maybe you can solve them, and so that's what we're doing here. Now, here's what I'm trying to say is, if we could come up with a set of principles, maybe, and spell those out, and so like tradition, like, hey, don't you know, if we have these traditions, this is how we survive. This is what keeps us together. I was thinking maybe we could get together as a group and just say, hey, these are the principles of the Occupy groups in Michigan, maybe something like that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be long.
Okay, that's just...
That's it, yeah. And so I wasn't talking about how do we operate during a meeting. What I was talking about is how do we operate as a group, because the group is so important. Without the group, what are we, all by ourselves? Yeah. And so that was one that I had to consider. No membership regulations or restrictions. And then the other one that I'd like to, hey, what's the next critical? Is I'd like to have you consider this one here, this primary purpose thing. And it's easy for us to get sidetracked and say, okay, hey, we're so good at solving the alcoholism problem. Why don't we deal with, like, say, Overeaters Anonymous too, or Gamblers Anonymous? And the next thing you know, we're distracted all over the place, and we don't do the one thing well. What I was thinking is this other principle we might have is, hey, look, fracking is important, it's cool. Okay, gardening is important, it's cool. What we're all about is getting democracy back to the people. That's our purpose. That's our one purpose, and if it applies to whatever issue you have, we're with you. is to get the power back to the people. Those two principles I like to be considered. That's all, thanks.
You had a question?
No, now I have a statement. I changed it.
Just a note, if you have just a clarifying question, if you throw up a C, it helps us facilitate a little bit easier. And then, I guess some stacks.
But before we do, I put out there that people have discussion, process ideas of how people want to discuss this. Do people want to just have an open discussion?
Sure.
Like this?
Yeah.
Let's just do.
Okay.
Well, what's stack?
Do people want stack?
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2.
I think it's a really important concept that you bring up. I think it's something that people should talk about in their local meetings, that they would have to decide that in their local meetings amongst their local people. But I think it's really important that we do consider talking about those things in our local meetings.
I see value in having a resource to go to when you don't know what to do, because most people are not trained disability rights activists who know how to train other disability rights activists. And let's face it, 1 out of 6 individuals in the U.S. has mental illness. So if we close our eyes to that, we're not going to be able to deal with it. I have provided professional training in this on the Michigan Works Association conference and the Michigan Rehab Association conference. I know about it. I have a 4-hour PowerPoint maybe available on the internet through one of those sources. If it is, I can send it out to you. I'm willing to train anybody who wants to hear about, Tourette's syndrome and OCD and bipolar, and that you don't know if somebody has these things. Glenn Close has a great website and YouTube video, Brain Change 2 with the numeral 2 mind, really excellent on this. It takes skills to deal with behaviors, and I think we want to welcome all persons, and we want to not, find some behaviors not acceptable. So we need to clarify that. Persons are welcome. Certain behaviors, controlling behaviors, dominating, violence, verbal violence, not acceptable. So if people can get clear on those issues, I'm Norma from Lansing, and we're available to help or advise or training or whatever.
Number 3.
Okay. My church is Unity Church, and we have something called the shared agreements, and after the Facebook drama that was going on, I brought the shared agreements to GA and said, what do you guys think about using these for, to end this problem? And they were thinking, no, we didn't really like it, but it started talking, and Reverend Jeff, who's going to be hosting on the 12th, he's all about this kind of thing because he's Reverend. So he took the bull by the horns, and we, at one of our GAs, we made up these covenants, together. We just took the whole GA just to talk about all the things that we think are important. We just brainstormed, on the chalkboard, and then he took it back and put it into this, and then we voted on it at the next GA. And it's it's got 12 things, to do here, and then it's got core values here. And so we like it, it works for us, and on that. Thank you.
What's next? To me, it seems like you're right on the head around there, or what I'm saying. Behaviors, oppressive or disruptive behavior should not be tolerated. We're open to everyone. They get a chance to be in a group, but if they start acting the fool, they really can't, and I think that's okay. That's just me speaking personally, not as associated.
My point though? Yeah. No, my point wasn't that it shouldn't be tolerated. My point was that there's no way to throw them out of the movement.
Yes.
Just that the
that is an important thing to think about. What we have in our little working group, Occupy Homes in Grand Rapids, is that you have to agree with the points of unity, and then you also have to follow the guidelines for an anti-oppression policy, which is very laid out and explicit. And I have another copy around here somewhere afterwards if someone wants to check it out. But it's unwritten in our group, but if someone is causing problems, it's simply you just surround them and tell them why they're being inappropriate, and the group will figure out on a case-by-case basis that if someone needs to get out, then how to do that. But one way that's really easy is you just make sure everyone knows that they're going to confront this individual, and then they all go pee. And then they confront the individual who hasn't just gone pee, and then they leave when they have to go to the bathroom, eventually, after hours of resisting, like, common sense. And then, regarding the idea of having a statement or unified goals, I think personally that the state of Michigan and all the occupations and occupiers in it is probably too big and too diverse a group to nail that down, but I think having at least a code of conduct or something like that would be a good idea. So that's just my 2 cents. Number 5.
That was me.
You're 5.
Yeah. I like the idea of having principles. I like the idea of hearing what other groups come up with for their principles. I think that would be fascinating to hear. And I wouldn't even mind proposing that folks do that and we read them off to each other and interoccupy sometime just to compare where all our heads are at. And then possibly we could take out the ones that multiple groups have articulated and possibly use that. The first time Dan mentioned this, I had a bit of a knee-jerk reaction against the one thing we're for is power, restoring power to people. It seems too constrictive, but really things like gardening can be restoring power to people. You're taking it out of Monsanto's hands and growing your own food. So lots of the things we're doing really do fall under that one banner. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Number 1.
Occupy Lansing's been through a lot of these issues too. We're still grappling with them. And we might have some documents that might be of use to you. If you go to the occupylansing.net site and look under documents or resources up at the top, under documents we have something called the autonomy agreement that might have some help for you about like keeping the Democrats from taking over. And under resources, I don't know if it's there now, but I'm going to make sure it will be in the next couple of days. We've been working on the good neighbor policy, and we have a really good document about that, and I'll stick it, I'll make sure it's in the resources. I'm good friends with the webmaster.
Can I clarify a question about that? When you say good neighbor policy, is that in regards to the way you live your life, so to speak, and deal with your fellow occupiers and people, or is that more, because when I saw the good neighbor policy in New York, it was specifically about how to behave when you're occupying the park.
Exactly.
And I know Lansing's thinking about doing that. Is that what that's for?
Well, it started, and its core was stuff that we were doing in Looters Park, but the thing we're trying to do is expand it out into our interactions online and just in general assemblies wherever, and just within the movement.
So when Occupy Kalamazoo was larger, we had a big board with how the meeting went as well as points of unity, and we brought that to all, not all, but most of the GAs that were big and put that up. And Facilitator read through those. One of them that had to be used was oppressive language will be pointed out. And the very first time that those were all read, so simply we're just going to make note that that is oppressive language or behavior, and then we're going to move on. And there was someone that continued to do it, and it was pointed out by the facilitator and other people, like right as he was talking, he was like, oppressive language, and that was it. And then afterwards, when some people talked to him about it, he felt really attacked. When other people, he was in the Marine for like 30 years. When other Navy people talked to him, he didn't feel attacked, and he came around and he was like, okay, yeah, totally, I'm on board. So for that, like specifically for like behavior during the meetings, I think that there's a lot of power in like stating that this is how we're going to do it in the beginning, so everyone knows and agrees, and then people can feel able to point it out. And then it's also positive for the people that aren't necessarily being inflicted by that racist, sexist, ableist language. Someone that is able-bodied, white, etc. can point it out. Check.
I got a stack too.
You're number 5. You're number 5. Number 3 was over here.
Somebody back there.
And we have already nearing time, FYI.
In our group, we sat down together and we all came up with a list, I guess, of behaviors, how we expect people to behave when we're together as a group or when we're at an action or an event of some sort. And we all agreed on those. And we also came up with a declaration of our core values and our principles as a group. What is it we stand for? What is it we're looking to do? And we read those at an Inter-Occupy. And as far as your second point, what is it we're going to focus on? Everything we do as an occupation related to actions has to be related to at least one of those points in our declaration. And the principles that we operate by as just a group of human beings together involve just general respect for each other and for the group, and how we carry ourselves and how we conduct ourselves. And a lot of those are the same as what Occupy Muskegon came up with when the group very first was formed out in the middle of Hackman Park. Regarding language and conduct and what wouldn't be tolerated. I saw something from an Occupy group, I think in North Carolina, online not long ago, and they had a problem with someone who repeatedly engaged in inappropriate behavior. Stealing things from the camp, and using inappropriate language, and showing up drunk, and just generally being a pain in the ass. And so they decided as an occupation to do an intervention, I guess you would call it. They had repeatedly asked him not to engage in these behaviors, and he ignored them. So finally they said, okay, we're going to do an intervention. The next time he shows up, we're going to confront him as you would someone with a drug problem, an alcohol problem, etc. That didn't work. He felt attacked and he left. And the problem didn't get solved. So the next time he came back, they said, okay, we're going to have another chance, but on this day, we're going to sit down and we're going to solve this problem. And so he came back that day, and they conducted their intervention, and he didn't agree with the things that they were saying, and they said, well, fine, we'll give you a week, you go away for a week, you think about it, come back, tell us how you would like to handle the problem. And he just never came back, and that was how they wound up handling it. They just kind of made it his problem, and so he felt uncomfortable, and he just quit going there.
So we're at time, so I'm going to call for closing the staff for an extension of time.
I'd like to follow with a comment or something if I could. That's all.
You're already on the stack. We're going to finish out.
So, do people want, so is that good to close the stack, or people want to extend time? Okay. Does anyone want to have a, how do you call it, a breakout discussion group post-meeting about this? Okay. So we have 3 more on the staff.
Okay, the Justice and Mental Health Organization hosts drop-in centers for persons with mental illness, and they're very good at running very welcoming, open, peaceful places for people with mental illness, and they might also be willing to run trainings. When I first joined Occupy, I saw somebody engaging in unacceptable behavior. He was clearly out of control emotionally, and so some people gently escorted him away so he could chill. And when we interviewed people at a drop-in center for street people, the church runs, their rule was when people behave in unacceptable behavior ways, then they are no longer welcome that day. They continue to be welcome afterwards, and then people who want that to continue exert peer pressure against the individual to behave more socially acceptable ways. I think there's certain amount of value in creating these academic statements and philosophical statements that we can all agree on in our heads. I think the practical suggestion of let's say this word oppressive language ahead of time so that people feel, because most of us are not comfortable with confronting others when their behavior is unacceptable. And it's very uncomfortable to be the only one in the room who recognizes unacceptable behavior and confronts it. So that's a skill that's learnable, and I'm willing to teach it.
Just a direct response. Another example of that is early on in Occupy Grand Rapids, we had a security team, and part of their job was kind of de-escalation and keeping an eye on that kind of thing. Next is...
Thanks, yeah, appreciate it. And I appreciate your willingness to consider this, and I know that we all have, in our own groups, decided what is it that we're going to, what kind of rules maybe. And I appreciate your thinking about this anyway. By the way, I heard the statement that just don't believe it is possible, as diverse as we are, to come up with a generalized set of principles. Hell, AA could do it anyway. I mean, you won't find a more diverse group than that. And you know what? And so I think it is possible. I also think it's extremely important for our own survival. And so I am glad that you're willing to consider this. Now, I will try to clear up something briefly here. I'm not talking about bad language. And I'm not talking about hitting people, that kind of stuff. And I'm not talking about somebody, here, I'll give you an example. This recently happened in our group. What we had was a couple of members who betrayed our trust, There was an agreement in this case that we were not going to record a meeting. We had a guest, and the guest did not want to be recorded, and the thing was recorded, and then that recording became available publicly on the internet. So, now this is testing things. Are you going to throw them out? They definitely betrayed our trust. We can't trust them anymore. And the way we solve that is by saying, okay, well, they're no longer allowed in our working groups. But if we're going to have a GA, like for instance out in the park, how are you going to be able to monitor everybody and throw them under there? As soon as you start cutting lines like that, you say you can't be in our group, you can't be in our movement, it is dangerous. And so anyway, that's a principle we came up with. There are no membership regulations or restrictions. I want you to consider that one. I want to hear the other ones, but I want you to consider that one. There are no membership regulations or restrictions. And then the other one, of course, is our primary purpose, so we don't get diverted off into something else. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, and then last on the second is the second.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little scatterbrained, so I apologize if this is somewhat incoherent. But I think if we do want to do this whole points of unity thing for Occupy Michigan or inter-Occupy meetings or whatever it is we want it to specifically for, it would be a good idea to, like what was mentioned earlier, to maybe agree that we're all going to have conferences at our next GAs about principles that we're really down with, and then we come back to the next inter-Occupy and talk about it. I think that's one thing we should maybe decide on for sure if we really want to do this. I also think that it should be a relatively short list. Like, we don't want it to get too lengthy. We just want to have some broad general principles that we can generally all agree with and are okay with. And I would also, one thing that I would really like to maybe see, just throwing it out there, is the respect for diversity of tactics as something on there. So that's it.
Alright, so
where's the point of information to directly kind of respond to your issue? There's a thing or like an idea, it's kind of vague, but called security culture, used by a lot of activist groups to kind of, the idea being that when you have a culture of security, you don't really have to worry about situations like that. Well, in practice, it's obviously a little bit more messy, but like when you're in a public space, being aware that you don't know people around you, so like if you have something that needs to stay secret, just keep your mouth shut until you're around people you trust. There's also vouching systems, like I don't know anyone here, and I'm not going to tell you a lot of things about myself because no one's vouched for you. I don't know you guys, but that's probably a resource to look into.
And I have a point of information too. Community mental health offer training in least restrictive restraints, respectful ways of treating people who will become out of control emotionally. And also also, the homeless continuum of care exists in every community, and in Lansing, they found there are 10 times as many homeless people as shelter beds for them. And a lot of homeless people have mental illness diagnoses. And some of them have anosognosia, which means they do not know that they have a disability. It's not just denial. It happens to people who have amputations and strokes and blindness, and people with OCD as well.
All right,
So they don't take meds.
We took a temperature check on clothing stock a few people ago, and we are at 28.5 units. It seems like it's a very large issue, and there's a lot of differing opinions, but the ideas that was expressed about everyone thinking about this and hopefully coming prepared with some more concrete ideas or suggestions at the next interoccupational summit would be, I think, probably helpful.
Can I make a proposal or suggestion that we come up with a number for our lists, like our top 3 or something?
So each
occupy come up with their top 3 principles.
Otherwise, it would be half an hour of us listening to everybody read their.
Temperature check on each occupied unit.
I didn't want to limit you, make as many as you like, but I think, top 3 of the inter-occupied would be nice.
And the membership regulation restrictions there, I think that's tough.
We should probably think about everything that was said, because it was not a goal during this agenda item.
So each occupied points of unity?
Points of unity / code of conduct / rules regulations / bylaws
Alright, so that is it for our agenda. I had something else I wanted to add, but we can also close to people.
What is it?
I want to do a checkout of how this retreat went, of what works well for our inter-occupieds, of what we should do better next time.
Can I get a little harder to find?
But do people want to do that? I didn't add it in the beginning.
Sure.
Can I get an affirmation if that's okay?
I'll post this video online too, and I don't know if anyone was taking it, but it'll be up and I'll share it around the various occupied pages, so I think you can get a look back in it.
Does anyone else have anything else to add? Well, I'm glad I know that.
Appreciate it.
I can challenge it. So let's start with what went well and what to do better next. Then we follow up. So if you have statements, try to clump them together. What you think went well and what should be done better next time. And this is where really twinkling is really helpful.
This place, I think this place went very well. People are extremely friendly to us and receptive, and they've been generous with us as well. And the food was good.
Probably good.
I love your Occupy the Home sketch, that was fantastic.
Oh yeah, thanks, okay. Yep, and I want to thank you again. I think everything did go well. I got to admit that bringing up something like this here with the principals is a little bit awkward and uncomfortable. And I know it must be to listen to too, because it isn't predictable. This isn't something like finding a schedule or something. So you don't expect to be talking about something, touching feely or something like that. And I appreciate you being so willing and welcoming of that sort of thing. And so I appreciate putting up with me. Okay, thanks.
I really like schedules. I like when there's a schedule made up beforehand. And also, I think the learn shops could have used agendas items. Or agendas of what goes on at the learn shop. And I really love using this space. And I think if we can afford it, we should try to use it again in the autumn. But I think we should offer a kitchen for it. It's expensive. Not expensive, but.
Are you now on things we did one?
Yeah.
I was clumping them.
Yeah, you can do either.
I'm just waiting for the list.
Well, thank you, Kris, for putting, you put a lot of work into this. And, this space is totally rad. There was a lot of stuff going on, it's good. I guess my only thing would be, maybe like, yeah, just a better schedule. But, yeah, that's it.
One of the things I really liked about it, I've been at a few other inter-occupies, but the way you put the time limits on and kind of got a consensus 20 minutes, you guys really stuck to that. And I haven't seen it in any of the other inter-occupies, I think.
You're on tight ship. 2, 3.
I think it would have been kind of nice if something like in the first day when like everyone was here, if there was like an introductory thing, so we stopped being strangers earlier, and so like this is kind of how I'm getting to know everyone, and kind of just feel a little late from that. Shoot, I forgot my positive.
There you go, number 3.
Does someone know where the Detroit woman is? So that she.
He showed up.
I just want future occupied stuff. You know, these things.
I really liked yesterday when we were all by the campfire and the sauna. I think that was a really good like migration like in the nighttime to there, because it was like a different, like a change in like scenery, and like I feel like everyone kind of got a little closer there last night. And I think actually no, like it was really full, like it was pretty close. But also maybe when we first get here, if we could like maybe all go out and like actually see all the things at this camp that make it so great. Because I kind of learned like kind of behind the scenes that like oh, they do this on their own, and oh, they do this on their own. It's quite incredible, like how sustainable this like camp has become, and I think I would like to kind of go around and just kind of appreciate lots of the buildings and the gardens. I saw a compost pile, maybe like a fort back there, and some, I don't know, it's just really interesting. So I think it would be cool to take like a really nice tour with everybody. Get to know everybody good well.
I'd just like to say thank you to the camp and to Occupy Kalamazoo and Kris and anybody who helped organize this. I'm having a great time. I always feel like when I first go somewhere, especially because a lot of the folks from Occupy Muskegon that I work with every day were not here in the beginning, and so you go somewhere and you've seen some faces before, but you don't really know anyone. And I think the sauna, how do you say it, the sauna? Really did, it was a nice bonding experience, and it's fun, and it takes a little while to warm up to people you don't know. And I'm sad to, now that I'm talking more with folks, to have to say goodbye so soon. So I really love the camp, and I'm looking to bring my own kids here. And I hope that if we can do this in the fall or any time in the future, we might be able to find a way to do it for a few more days. 3-4 days would be good, or 4 or 5 days. Because I feel like we're just getting started, really,
Okay, self-on again. Just a suggestion for future, anything really. Maybe have some mechanism if people have requests for a skill or a topic they'd like to learn or know more about. That could be interesting, because like a lot of people don't think that like what they do is important or special, and like would be surprised to know that a lot of people would love to learn about that. Whether that's how to use Twitter or how to break out of handcuffs or whatever.
Process I've seen for that works really well is a group meeting in the beginning, and people say what workshops they want to have, or like that they would like that someone teach them.
And then the second thing is just that this camp kind of like sets a perfect example. Like this camp's kind of doing what Occupy's doing. They're like living out the kind of world
on behalf of the camp. It was great having the Occupy here, and I think if you wanted to come back again, we'd love to make that work and try to make it work even better. We'd love to be able to show you around the place and tell you more about Circle Pines too. And you guys are all welcome to come out for any of our other events we have going on. And one big thing we've got coming up that you guys might want to participate in is our Buttermilk Jamboree. It's a big music festival we just started last year. And it's more than that because we want to have workshops and things and teach people about different things that are going on or things they might be interested in. And almost all the workshops that went on today would be perfect for that setting too, that I think there'd be people interested in that. So if anybody has any ideas of workshops or booths or things like that, we can have the festival would be nice. And if you guys want to do another Occupy thing, our fall's pretty well booked up if you want weekends, but weekdays are open, but you know, we can talk about other dates for winter or spring or something like that for sure. But it was really, really great having you here. I think the hardest thing for us was having to charge people for meals and not everybody could afford it. And if we could figure out a way to supplement that somehow next time around, it'd make it a lot easier for everybody.
When was the Buttermilk Jamboree?
Oh, sorry, June 8 to 10.
Straight behind you. That's 2011, it says. Oh.
Yeah, that's last year, but it's the same weekend, it's just 2 days different. There's brochures and flyers over here about all the events, including Buttermilk.
I wanted to say that I appreciated the thing about the pronouns and gender identity. I think it's something our language doesn't really have space for, is people that identify in between genders. And having a lot of friends that go through struggles with that. And it's nice to see. I know a lot of people Google it because it's kind of weird still, but it's nice to like have that be more mainstream. That like that is an issue for a lot of people. Wasn't it? So thank you for doing that.
I think it'd be better if you were more organized about the like late night events, because I didn't know there was a fire going on, and like I heard about it from someone way later than it started, and just if we could like put it on the board, like, you know, sauna and fire, come down to the lake. So just kind of publicize what's going on after dark, as well as we publicize workshops. Be helpful.
Can I make a proposal that we go with heat up the sauna?
Can I make a proposal for maybe like a yoga meditation, like I don't know, and then the sauna, like kind of thing going on tonight. Stargazing too.
Do yoga and sauna.
Yoga and sauna meditation.
Don't fall in.
So, sorry.
I think at the beginning of the Occupy weekend, we should find the meanest, most nastiest person at Occupy and have them enforce times. So that, you know, workshop people don't just blab on and on. Oh, that's a wonderful time. You know, I think I'll go on for 5 hours. And it's just really hard. And also, hold a second, what she said, it was too much like, oh, I'm in the know that we're doing this thing down here and you don't, so we don't need you, kind of thing. I thought it was very clubby.
That was just kind of what people were doing. It was like a plan.
Right.
Can you also add when you talk the schedule for tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow we have from we have breakfast at 8:30 to 9. It's 9:30. 8:30 to 9:30, and then after that we just had a little bit of free time for everybody to chill out, and then it was just pretty much a reflection on the camp. So it was pretty. We did all the teachings today.
We still haven't made up all our seed bombs.
I thought we had planned to have a little service in the morning, a from the heart service.
The reflection, yeah. Reflection.
Reflections on the song, like that, the way we like described it, I thought maybe some free time, that's not the thing.
No, I said there's some free time and then a reflection.
Can someone describe really briefly what that is, so we all know?
Okay, yeah.
It's a informal service tomorrow morning. Maybe we'll sit in silence for a few minutes. That was suggested. And then people could speak from the heart on whatever moved them to speak about.
Just a planning process. Does anyone want to get on stack to talk about things we can do, things that were good or things that could have been done better before we close the site?
I'd like to know how many people are staying for that tomorrow, that reflection.
So I guess.
Where will it be?
So does anyone else want to get on stack to talk about that, or should we move on to like announcements and figure out the rest of the evening tomorrow?
Well, I thought everything was fabulous here this evening. I would have liked to have a little bit more of the schedule online a little bit sooner. And then it was kind of confusing because it said in the schedule it was going to be breakfast and lunch and then no dinners, and I thought that was odd. So we kind of planned for that coming up today, that there would be no dinner and then there was a dinner. It would be good to know exactly what's going on.
That, I'll speak, okay, I'll speak. That wasn't planned.
Oh.
That was a gift
from
Circle Pines.
Thank you.
You guys that did it, it was part
Well,
occupiers.
yeah, but you still provided the labor for us. It wasn't on the schedule.
Yeah. Well, there's some of our staff that were also part occupied. They volunteered their time.
Which is a gift.
Right.
I forgot to say that with the last little statement, and I just wanted to reiterate that again to you guys, because a lot of the planning that did go right is definitely a lot with Circle Pine. So just I want to make sure that you guys are aware how helpful you are.
So I guess is there any announcements?
I thought of one thing, maybe something we could do in the future is organize carpooling a little bit more efficiently, like maybe even create a specific group, like emailing chain or Google group or something where we get together and organize carpooling for events such as this.
Just like a helpful note. One thing I've seen used in the past is Grand Rapids, for example, creating a Facebook group for Grand Rapids tutoring thing, and then whoever wants to go says they're attending, and then we'll work out that one. Just
like a Facebook invite?
Yeah.
We have that.
What specifically for rideshare?
Okay, I see.
Is there any?
Just another thing about tonight, I don't know if there's anybody here that doesn't have a place to sleep tonight and wants to spend the night here. Okay. If there is anybody, let me or Kris or somebody know sooner.
Yeah,
we got it. You got that covered?
I think, a couple of people dropped off, so we should be good.
Okay, all right.
Maybe an extra blanket if there is one here.
I've got a
5 or 10 degrees.
I've got a onesie jumpsuit. It's like
Does anyone have any announcements? I have a big thing of canvas that's rolled up next in the back porch. Take as much as you want or the whole roll for making banners.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mentioned, somebody mentioned that they thought the NATO protest would be on the 19th. It was actually moved to Sunday, the 20th of May. There was, you know about G8 by now. The permit for the 20th was actually denied by Chicago's government, but they're still going to be doing it because their excuse was that they didn't have the police militarization that they would have used. Basically, even though it was already planned for the day before, I guess, sending it a day later would be just too much work.
I do actually have a little announcement going by that. I think some of the people heard this already, but we're researching some stuff with Kalamazoo City right now. It sounds like there's a loophole in our transit where if you're a nonprofit organization, you can rent out public transportation for field trips. And so we're trying this out on NATO, and we're going to see how much bus room we can get to organize a trip to NATO on Kalamazoo public transport.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I just want to make mention of that there's been a lot of things going on at Occupy Ramsey, and there's some reports out there that maybe it doesn't even exist anymore. I just want to let you know that that report of our device has been greatly saturated. OccupyRamsey.net. We're going.
All right, hands to the center.
We are the 99%!
I gotta announce one more time that if anybody hasn't gotten me with money for the food for this weekend, please get with me tonight. If anybody wants to color, hold on right here.
Using your finger.
Dan, wish you would have been here longer.
He's getting older, I know. But he's starting back
So he starts talking about